Central City, California, you're listening to The Second Column with Joe, Mike, Carlos, and Sean.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Second Column podcast. We are joined this week. It's a unique week. It's the first time we've ever had two guests in one podcast. So we were without Carlos Jaime, unfortunately. He is on a cruise. Well, Sean's very happy about that.
Carlos is debauching on a high seas adventure.
Debauching. I'm still not convinced that's a verb. But I'm going to look that up one of these weeks.
I'm not convinced that Mike exists, so it works.
To debauch, be like a lordly king and drink.
Right. But we are joined here by our two guests. We have Mr. Chris Mosier is with us. Comedian.
Thank you.
We love having Chris.
Two-timer club now. And Dan Donatelli is also
two-timer.
Here. Danny's a three-timer.
Oh, wow.
Yes, thank
So
you.
Danny joins the likes of Ed Galvez as a three-timer. So, and we also have in the audience we have Tom Donatelli,
Another two or three timer.
I'll clap for Tommy. Yeah,
Yes.
Tommy's been here multiple
audience,
times.
yeah.
So Tommy's hanging out. He doesn't have a mic, but he's video recording us and hanging out, and he'll be the laugh track as he often is at Pangea and Great Adventure and Hero Style.
The
shows.
saving grace.
Yeah. So a couple pieces of business I want to get to before we talk about the column. First of all, the hunt for a date for Carlos is not off to a good start. Shock.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, I had my friend Megan, who just moved back to Ohio. She's trying to convince one of her LA girlfriends to go out with Carlos. So there's that possibility. We'll explore this further in depth when Carlos returns. But again, I'm making a second desperate plea to hook him up.
And I think previously something that might scare girls away is that I believe you said that the date will then be scrutinized during the podcast. I think that would scare girls
That's
away.
a good point.
Yeah, we shouldn't scrutinize the date.
All right, will be no scrutiny. There'll be very little scrutiny.
We should just talk about it.
I
also kind of, and not to put down Carlos too much, but I also feel like us kind of, making things worse by saying we're going to scrutinize it is a lot like saying you're going, to drive through a field of vicious, angry, lions, and then saying, oh, and the car doesn't have seatbelts. And then somebody coming back and saying, it's the seatbelt thing that's scaring the girls off.
Right, so you're saying Carlos may be the actual problem.
Yeah, and that we're kind of pulling hairs here.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. I think the essential problem is Carlos.
Yeah, but I'm sure that we've added something.
Right.
Sure. Carlos would be a lovely date.
Actually, and on my website and in my emails, I've been trying to talk Carlos up on how he's a really good guy. He's fun to hang out with. So I have been trying to do some of that.
You're trying to talk him
I'm
up.
trying to do
It's
some.
not true.
Well, it is true, but we don't mention those things in the podcast.
We don't.
Every other word out of Carlos's mouth is
vagina, stripper's vagina. So.
Right. Thank you. It's like
He's
he's not
about
even
to be
gone.
more tyrant.
Yeah.
It's funny, Carlos's lack of success isn't much of a departure from the 30-year prologue to that story.
Well, his favorite restaurant is Hooters. So.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true, though.
Well, I think Hooters has come up in the ranks.
I think let's go around the table once and do one good thing, a reason that someone should go on a date with Carlos.
Carlos is extremely well read. He's a man of letters.
Very much.
He's a smart man. That's mine.
Girls love that.
All right, I think we should go. I think we should do Chris now. I think we should save Mike for last.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
Chris knows. Chris and Carlos have hung out.
Yeah,
plenty
they've
of
hung out a
times.
couple times.
I would say that there's just a slight element of danger, but
Yes.
danger in a very intriguing way. If I was a lady, there's just enough that is a mystery about that man that would keep me for the entire evening, just to try to unwrap that puzzle.
I think what he's saying is am I going home with him? Am I going home at all? It would be that kind of question at the end of the night.
I ask that sometimes.
But in a positive, I'm meaning that in a positive.
I agree with you completely.
Sure.
He does. He has an air of reserved intrigue about him.
Yes.
I'd agree with that. That's a good point. Danny?
The girl will be asking, why am I getting on a bus if Carlos is taking her home?
No, if he picks her up in a cab, though, that's very Sex in the City.
Right.
It's popular now.
Oh, yeah.
So Carlos, of course, I don't know if we mentioned this last time, but Carlos does not drive. It's a choice.
And along with that, I think he's leaving a very small carbon footprint, which maybe for some
is that your Carlos contribution?
I'd say that, and I'd also say that sometimes his nerdy Star Wars T-shirts, if looked at as ironic, are pretty hip.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but they're hugely intentional.
But I would say that maybe it's so genuine that it still comes off as ironic. And that's kind of sexy, right?
Sure.
All right, I'll stick with the carbon footprint one then.
Stick with the carbon footprint. So Carlos is not wasting the Earth's precious resources.
Exactly, which to some women, that's kind of a trend right now. There you go.
Right. Okay, fair enough. Mike?
I think it's sometimes fun when Carlos gets drunk because he turns into a big lovable bear,
He does,
and
actually,
you can cuddle with him.
A drunk,
Very charming drunk. Yes.
very
Very
Carlos
charming.
is very fun.
You know, very
he just
poised.
wants to hug and
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Oh, so he likes to touch you when he's drunk.
Yes, it's
All right, girls.
yeah.
Make sure he takes you to a bar.
To recap, he's alone and reads all the time.
Yeah.
Positive, check. We don't know what he might do next from Chris.
Yeah.
The air of mystery, check. Danny, yours was what was your
Getting on a bus.
That's right. Yeah, you're not gonna get picked up in a car at all. And of course,
He won't leave a global footprint.
right.
Jeez, mine was actually the nicest.
Yours was the nicest.
Wow.
No, I would
I think
like
mine
to-
was the nicest.
Oh.
I would like to wrap this up with a nice thing. To be serious here, I don't know how to describe why I like people, but just Carlos is a good person. And
Absolutely.
so I think
True.
that is what a girl could.
That's why I would
Right.
date
He's
him
a
if I was
We
a
give him a
woman.
lot of shit, but we give everybody a lot of shit that we like here. He's a solid guy.
He is a good person.
Very solid guy.
Sean, I didn't know you liked me.
I don't.
That's a whole other
Yeah, there's a-
podcast. We're gonna
there's
get
a
into you two
column.
at some point. Yeah, that'll be good. Okay, very good. Second point of business. I didn't know until today Danny was gonna be on the show, but he actually wrote in a very brief letter, which is my favorite type, about last week's podcast. And Danny wrote, and I thought this was poignant: listening to Joe Donatelli, Carlos Jaime, and Michael Constantini. Note he left you out. And Michael Constantini talk about dating and when to call girls reminded me that I need to download Bill Parcells' podcast to see what he thinks about eco-friendly ways to prepare ambrosia salad. That's the meanest,
Well
funniest
played.
thing anybody's ever said to me.
played.
I love it.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where to argue with that. Like I don't know where to start. Like it all makes complete sense.
The one way-
Did you intentionally leave Sean off that?
Yeah, he's just a girlfriend. I mean, he's obviously successful.
Oh.
Yeah, it's true.
Oh,
Remind me to have you speak at my funeral.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I think that was a really good point from Danny. Last thing, Phil Ranter wrote in, and I'll whip right through this. So Phil did the Meatless for Defer campaign, and we came in here and we ate In-N-Out burgers in front of him, and he was a good sport about the whole thing. He wrote, "Thanks again for having me on the show. I just want to let you know how my meatless ass ended up in the Meatless for Darfur charity. Early in the month, the meat eaters jumped off to an astounding lead, and what followed was an epic battle between good and evil. Evil, of course, being the vegetarians. In the end, UNICEF received about $500, which is great.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And my vegetarian streak ended on the exact day that May ended. That means that the carnivores donated twice as much money as the herbivores, finally proving that meat eaters are better people than vegetarians." Yes, very good, very good.
Good work,
Yes.
Phil.
He concludes. In your last podcast, Doug mentioned that Joel paid me to stay vegetarian for the day before I was supposed to be free, May 29th. However, he was also the one that donated money in favor of the meat eaters on my last day, and so Joel ended up like paying for him to eat and not eat. So he wanted to point that out. Also, and this is the best part. My first meal was pulled pork made from meat that had been in my freezer since the last 4th of July that Joel insisted was still edible. I had diarrhea for hours. Still not sure if it was from the weakness of my stomach or the oldness of the meat, but that old rancid meat was the most delicious food I have ever tasted. So
good for him.
That's how
Good for
Phil.
him.
That's how Phil closed it out.
Wow.
So yep, there you go. So good job, Phil. Congratulations. That's a really good cause.
I think he should get the second column Hero of the Week
He
award.
definitely gets some kind of hero of the week award, most definitely. So very good. All right, let's get to the column. This week I wrote a piece called "In Opposition to the Open Door Policy," and in it I wrote about when couples have to deal with that moment where somebody leaves the bathroom door open. I am starkly opposed to having the bathroom door open during peeing or pooping. Number one, number two, I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want anything to do with it. It's not my cup of tea. And everybody was like, lots of ideas this week. Everyone had something to say, and Chris, you're in favor of my policy. You're in agreement with me, and you definitely have intensely personal reasons for this.
Yes, well, I've experienced both sides of this, and yeah, there's just no question. I mean, first and foremost, I concur with kind of the reasons that you have, just the aesthetic reasons, and I'd concur with that. There's no need to see lemonade or iced tea in that situation. And but then the second reason that I hold it so dear is because the bathroom to me is my favorite room in any abode that I travel to.
Mm-hmm.
It is easily, hands down, the favorite room. I could spend all of my time there. If I could get a much comfier chair that could be placed in there, that is where I'd spend all of my time.
That's where Dave Grohl keeps all of his awards, isn't it? In his bathroom.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. My friend Holly, her dad had a picture taken with like a senator, and they kept it over the toilet. Like it's a great place to put ironic or funny or hugely achieving things.
I have a poster which I currently co-reside with my girlfriend, and so it has been some, not debate, but she just is very much not in favor of a poster that I purchased 6 years ago that I forever dreamed of hanging above the toilet. And it is all of the race cars that Richard Petty ever drove. And it's just like pictures and drawings of all of those race cars. But then above it at the top, in very regal letters, it says the thrones of King Richard.
That's lordly. I think that's great.
You enjoy that poster on so many levels.
Yeah. Oh, like just about every level that one could glean.
Yeah, Chris being a big NASCAR fan and a big fan of literal humor enjoys that poster. That's really good. Yeah, I know. I dated a girl who her bathroom was filled with inspirational sayings, and so I would always go in there. Like I would probably go to the bathroom more often than not because I was at her apartment on like the second date, and I was like trying to get to know her, and I was like, shortcut to her madness. Go to the bathroom, read what fires her up, and it was all stuff. It was all stuff like, and she's a really nice person, but it was all stuff like, I know that. Like, yeah, you should be happy. Yeah, you should want to get out of bed in the morning. Like, some of it was a little bit basic, but it was really cool that she had it. I always thought that was really impressive that she had an inspirational bathroom. So, way to take it. I also had one more friend who he's a big Ohio State fan. And so he has this is like an Ohio State coach from like the late 1980s. He had an Earl Bruce bathroom, and he had this giant like life-size picture of Earl Bruce, and just decked out. Everything's in scarlet and gray, and that is his throne. Like that is what he loves. But you also check out other people's bathrooms too.
Oh yeah, no, because that was to kind of piggyback on that. A friend of mine, my friend Jason, got married, moved into a house. And so it had been like a little bit like I'd visited him, but I'd never seen the master bathroom. And it's one of those things where I have very strong opinions about what a bathroom, like lots of times you go in and you're like your bathroom, I'm not necessarily that big a fan of. It's kind of like a shotgun bathroom. And I'm sure just for sink real estate, like girls probably enjoy the sink real estate portion of your bathroom.
Right. It's huge.
But for me, like the meat and potatoes is like I need to be able to sit, and then I need to be able to have things that I can set down real near it because I might be eating when I go in there. I might bring magazines or books or notebooks that I want to write while I'm in there.
Sure.
And so those things need to be placed to where I can grab them, but they also need to be placed somewhere where they don't get wet. And
that's hard because in the middle of the night, sometimes you miss and you can actually piss on your magazines.
Exactly.
What does one eat in the bathroom?
That's what I'd like to go back to.
Sometimes it'll be breakfast or lunch, and I'll just bring it in with me. And because I've been known, and very rightly so, like there's no reason to be ashamed of this at all, that I'll spend like an hour plus in the bathroom.
Wow.
Because it is just such a great, I can close the door, and it's like my own personal world.
Yeah, that's great.
It's just like no matter what's happening in the world, the door closes, that room looks exactly the same. I can hear birds chirping outside that window. Like it is the perfect space. And for folks that grew up in colder climates, the heater in the bathroom, like the ratio of square footage of that room to heater is such a ridiculous ratio.
It's nice.
That it's the toastiest room.
Can I ask a question though? You cohabitate with your girlfriend.
Co-reside.
Cohabitate, whatever, same thing. You coexist in the same universe with your girl. When you were, spending like an hour or two in the bathroom, did she ever get concerned and want you to go to a doctor about your bowel movements?
I don't think there's ever, but I think that people always have much different ideas about what I'm doing in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And it took me quite a while because I'm very oblivious to this sort of thing of going over to like a friend's house and spending a considerable amount of time in their bathroom and then coming out, and you always get those looks of like, I know what you were doing. Like, that's really weird just to do that at someone's bathroom. And it's just I enjoy, from the time I was a freshman in high school, I've just enjoyed. A friend of mine lent me a copy of Catcher in the Rye, and I was like, when am I going to read this? And I was like, I'll try to knock off like 5, 6 pages every time I go to the bathroom. I enjoyed the book so much that I would just spend like an hour just reading through the book. And that's the place that I do the most reading.
See, I find it hard to read though in the bathroom because I always put my elbows on my knees.
Hold on, before you go any farther, there are going to be ladies that maybe draw mental pictures of what you're about to say.
But I rest my elbows on my knees, and my legs always fall asleep. That's because so a couple times, in order to get off the toilet, like actually after I read the entire graphic novel to History of Violence on the John, and I take really fast craps. I really do. Like, I'm in and out. Like, boom, bada, bang. Like, I could be like CIA, you know? Got to take a shit, go in, take it, go kill your guy.
See,
you know,
this
like
is
I can do that. But-
kind of a nice segue into our Win a Date with Mike Costantini. We're setting that up perfectly right now.
No, so here, you know, I read the entire graphic novel. It was really very interesting. I recommend it if you like the movie. It's actually better than the movie. But I actually, when I got done, my legs were completely asleep, and I couldn't get up. And I had to actually fall to the right and lay on the ground and let the I had to let the
Is this pre-wipe or post-wipe?
well, it was post, you know, like I
So you wiped while you were sitting.
yeah, like I can do it. You know.
Okay, so you wiped while you were sitting, and then you threw yourself
and
off of the toilet.
I knew I was in trouble.
You threw yourself off of the toilet.
I usually stand up to wipe, but I knew I was in trouble because I knew that my legs were completely cut off of all
Right,
void
right.
circulation. So I had to work out a way where I could wipe myself fine.
Right.
But then I just literally fell over, and I laid there
for the ladies. The address for Win a Date with Mike Costantini.
is it's the same.
Well-
It's win a date with Carlos Jaime at gmail.com.
This happened while you were living here too, Joe. And I didn't want to scare you. Like,
I would have
my
come in
first-
with the cameras. What I would have done.
I should tell you, my first instinct was to yell out for help because I got scared. You know, I literally thought like I need to be rushed to the hospital to save my legs.
Actually, really quick, if you mail to the same address, Joe's looking for a new roommate.
Joe needs a roommate at
Win a Date with Carlos Jaime.
gmail.com.
So I sat there. I was laying on the floor in the fetal position for about 15 minutes while the feeling was coming back to my legs. Horrible feeling when your legs fall asleep too. You know, it's really pins and needles. You know, and I was really scared that I wasn't going to be able to get up. And I was just waiting. I was like, well, I'll wait till the last possible minute to call for help because I really don't want to subject Joe to that.
Thank you.
It's a lot. You know, it'd be a lot in our relationship.
Come crunch time, Mike knows how to think. So,
So I sat there laying in the fetal position and just hoping, you know, kind of making my final peace with things and just, you know, hoping that everything would turn out okay. And yeah, gradually everything came back. But I vowed after that, I just can't read on the John.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. I was picturing Mike throwing himself off the toilet like Lethal Weapon style. You know, like like you know, like in a tub and like. But what he described was the movie Misery. Actually, is what I was.
The ending to History of Violence is much better in the comic book, by the way.
Okay.
Just don't want to throw that out there.
everyone has. By the time this story has ended, everyone has forgotten
Yeah,
what
yeah.
they were reading.
Yeah. Nobody cares or knows what you're reading. They're just picturing you in the fetal position on your
that's what he
bathroom
was
floor with your
reading.
pants around your ankles.
Yeah.
Chris's story kind of conjured a funny image for me. I just wanted to share real quick of like I just picture Chris carrying around the Catcher in the Rye, and he's like, "When am I gonna read this?" As he walks into the bathroom and he sits down, it's like in his hand, and then there's like the eureka moment when he realizes that he could open it up while he's sitting on the bathroom.
I had the same thought, Dan, where like he goes, "When am I gonna read this?" And like the sun ray just moves to the toilet. You know what I mean? And like if for no reason you hear like a ting, and then it's like
the eureka moment.
The eureka
Yeah.
moment.
You know, it made me think though too. I'll just very quickly. My mom had this really cool picture of my grandfather that she took herself, and it was actually a really cool picture. But she put it in the bathroom, and my grandfather came over one day to my mom and dad's house, and I guess he was in there taking a leak or something, and he got really pissed that she put his picture in the bathroom because he wanted it like hung somewhere else in the house, you know.
Yeah. It's not a place of honor to put a gift at all.
Well, hey, but according to Chris, I mean, man, it's a man of, you know, it's a place of honors.
Yeah,
Right.
and it's a place of high literature too. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
That some of the best poems that I've ever read have been graffiti, like etched into various places.
Yeah.
There was there was always like I've often thought a friend of mine wanted to make a coffee table book that's just like all of the various things that are like etched in.
Yeah.
like,
I'm surprised it's been made. That's a
like
good idea.
really classy high end
Yep.
photography.
Yeah.
But I remember the one that made me lose my mind was I was in college and I was in the science building because often, and this is one thing that I miss about living when I lived in Nashville, if I was out about in town, I'd lived in that town long enough that I knew where I could go to the bathroom.
Yep.
So if I was out about and I'm like, oh
Yeah.
man, I'm like 30 minutes away from home, but I'm only 5 minutes from this college where I know they don't lock the doors on these buildings. And then I could just go in and go to the bathroom there. And so I was in the science building at this college in Nashville, and it had etched into the wall was the integral of 1 over house D boat. And I was like, what is that? And as I'm trying to remember, I took calculus once and I'm trying to figure it out. And then I was like, I think the answer to that math problem is the word houseboat. And I remembered it and then went to a friend of mine that I knew math. And I was like, what is this? The integral of 1 over house d boat. What is that? He's like, well, that would be houseboat. I was like, that's the greatest.
Chris, have you ever taken a leak or whatever at the UCB bathroom, the Upright Citizens Brigade?
I've enjoyed
the one in the back.
Yes, I've enjoyed all of their bathrooms.
The one in the back.
Yeah,
it's good. I like that one, and it's kind of off limits to me because I'm not really a performer there. but
although he does often wander up on stage.
I would tech a show there called ASCAT for a long time, and one night I had a severe case of the Grendels, what I like to call, and it was basically like just really bad stomach cramps because I had eaten some bad lettuce from the night before, and it just caught up with me. And the show was about to go on, and I just literally couldn't take it. I was sweating. So I didn't want to go to the main bathroom because, basically you take a shit, next to the audience. And I don't know.
And that's the girls' bathroom, too, which I'm
it
always...
is.
You never like to drop a
can't do
stinky
that.
deuce
Two
in the
unisex
girls.
bathrooms, yeah.
So I went to the back room, where all the performers go.
Yeah.
But anyway, while I was back there, I just looked at the wall, and it was just all these famous people had written these cool quotes, and I just kept reading. So it made the experience that much nicer.
Do you remember any of them or no?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, Chris, remind me, what college did you go to?
I went to Peabody College there in Nashville.
Okay.
So.
I was just trying to think, what
That's a music
what
school.
nerd college has, that? That's like their.
Well, that was on the Vanderbilt campus.
On the Vanderbilt. Okay, that makes sense.
Yes.
That makes sense.
Peabody has a
Vanderbilt
music school, doesn't it?
I don't know if that one does. There's probably another Peabody. The Vanderbilt has a fancy music school. So
Because Peabody I know is a really famous music school or something like that. So
Let's hash this out. Is it?
well, I didn't know if it was
No.
the same-
Hold
on, let's make it a bit.
I didn't know if it was
No,
the
I don't.
same
Nobody
one.
wants to know about it.
Why not? It's a good school.
No,
But I will-
It's not the time or the place for that.
We might have some people
No,
listening to the
no,
podcast
no,
who
there's
want to be
no
musicians.
people.
I know.
There's no-
I know for a fact that there are 2 women listening right now who have 2 sons that are looking. They're graduating. One of them plays a wicked cello, and they don't know where to send their kid to college.
I will fucking kill you.
I mean, Berkeley's so expensive.
One afterthought, Chris.
All right.
I will look forward to taking a leak in the UCB bathroom in the back room when I actually feel like I belong in there.
Oh, that's nice, Mike. Something to work
One
for.
day.
Something to work for.
will that be one of those moments of just as opposed to the actual moment that you're on stage and people are throwing roses,
Right, right.
instead of that moment, your moment will just be I'll see you guys. I'm going to take a dump in that room right there.
Yeah,
And
well,
we'll be-
it's always better when you feel like you belong in a room.
We'll be outside the room, hey, that's a good show. We're just gonna hear, I've arrived. I'm alive.
I just think that Mike's got a realistic goal for himself because in order to be the guy that gets roses thrown at you, you have to be the center of attention, you have to be
Right.
the star of the show.
star of the show.
He just wants to literally be the guy that's got half a line that roller skates by in a scene because that guy can use the bathroom too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what kind of my dream is Mike with his legs asleep on the floor and Matt Besser walking in and they're like, what are you doing down there? And you're like, I'm sorry, I was reading all these great quotes from these celebrities and my legs fell asleep. That would be that. I would want to be there for that.
Yeah. Should have a warning on toilets about that.
Oh,
You
man.
have to earn the performer's bathroom.
You have to earn it, Mike. Great.
It's an inside joke.
Great. All right. Hey, now, Sean, you now you had some special insight into this because you've lived with your
Yes.
girlfriend and you've dealt with this, and you have a slightly different. Now, Chris and I are in complete agreement.
Yeah.
I think Mike agrees, Danny, because you were the only one that had a shade of different thought on this.
I do. I have kind of a differing opinion. I would say I'm kind of a moderate in this respect because I believe definitely when a girl's taking a dump or anything smelly is coming out, I'm not a fan.
Right.
I don't like that. There's a lot of pushing involved, which can make for awkward faces.
Right.
There's a smell involved, which kind of ruins it. And like you said about it being really hot in the bathroom, which I totally love, and which is why I personally love the bathroom. That heat doesn't do well for a stench,
Right.
And just kind of an overall air.
Heat is not a stench suppressor; it's a magnifier.
No, it's a magnifier.
Right.
So I don't like that. But a girl peeing, I don't mind if she leaves the door open. Well, not a girl, but specifically my girlfriend.
Right.
I imagine with other women it might be a little awkward.
Right. They might say something.
There might be something wrong with that. But I do, when I lived with my girlfriend for a while, and from our bedroom, the bathroom actually opened to our bedroom. And from where I was sitting on the bed, if it was was like late at night or we were just getting ready to go to bed, and she would go in there to take a quick leak after she brushed her teeth or something like that. And she left the door open. I would have, from where I was sitting, a perfect view of her sitting on the toilet, and I didn't mind it at all. I didn't mind it because there wasn't anything awkward. There weren't any noises either. There wasn't anything that could be remotely gross. And if you guys don't know me personally, which most of you don't, I'm a little OCD. I'm a big hand washer. I'm a big anti-gross person. So without that grossness, all I saw was something that I could kind of realistically say was maybe something that I was one of a few people who has ever seen in his life. Not many people have seen my girlfriend take a piss, and I could say that's something that nobody else has seen.
Right, and when it's a tinkle, it's cute.
It's cute, and it is.
Right.
It was kind of cute. It's like if she's into like a... I was just about to describe what it's like when my girlfriend's taking a piss.
Hey, Sean, do we have any new listeners this week?
Yeah.
Save it for like a wedding toast or something like that.
Well, I wouldn't. In some ways, I wouldn't mind having a woman see me piss as long as it's like a lordly piss. There's something about like what I really love. What I do
Hold
like.
on. Do I need to have a lordly count? Because this is the third time you've said lordly this show.
It was ever since this dream that I had, like after I slaughtered a bunch of stop touching your mic. You're making noises. Ever since I had that dream where I slaughtered a bunch of gladiators and then just took a huge piss.
Oh yeah, that
one.
Oh, yeah.
I like to go out in the garden and just work out, stress out, drink a lot of water, and just stress my body out, and then just go take a lordly, massive piss. And I don't know why, but there's something. It's like I'm exercising demons. And like just getting them out of my system or something. It's like a very cleansing process.
Mike,
and if
can
you're
you
doing
say?
that,
Hold on, can you really quickly? Can you just work in disease into this? Because you will have hit all of the stereotypical Mike things.
Yeah.
Garden,
lordly, dreams,
mentioned
no,
disease.
there's nothing disease about
old-timey
it. This
things.
is like a release. It's like
The sound of it like a rumbling train.
The lordly piss rumbles like a mighty Pacific Union.
You just come in, you take your shirt off, you're sweating all over, just put your body through hell, It's time to, take a piss. Just release it all. I think there's something good about that.
I've heard like many, I've listened before to the podcast. Many people have shared their stories or shared stories of other people. And time again, but specifically just when it comes to the bathroom, you really do describe in great detail these things. Like you just like the notion of like, oh, like it's just that moment of like taking off my shirt and the sweat beads off of me. But it may just be a little too much for the lady listeners. It may be just too much.
Hey, I'm not trying to win any beauty contests here.
I just told on really quickly for people who are listening, and I know that this is on video, but for people who are listening at this moment right now, as Chris started to explain what Mike does, Mike had this look like, oh my God, Chris is seeing eye to eye with me. And he's going, the way you describe how you go to the bathroom. And I think Mike was expecting Chris to go, I really appreciate that because no other person really does that.
Right.
And then when it turned to maybe that's a little bit too much, I just saw the eyebrows just morph into something completely different.
Yeah.
Chris, this is the spirit of radio. We have to describe everything. We are
Gotcha.
No, you
the Mar
definitely-
Balfords.
It's just funny. Like that's the area. Chris is right. That's the area you choose to open up. It's like when it comes to like cleanliness, body odors, diseases, bathrooms, tales, anything like that. And your bathroom, by the way, it's a horror show.
Yeah.
It really is. That
Mine?
bathroom. Yes.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
I don't know, it's scary
No,
in
it's
there.
not.
It's scary.
It's just you could eat an egg off of it.
No. Maybe like an egg that was laid by an animal that was in there scrounging around.
There are certainly
the corners.
eggs in it, if that's what
there
you
are
mean.
eggs in your bathroom, but
There are things you could eat off of it.
Yeah.
Now, are you talking about this one that's right here?
that's mine. right
My
there.
bathroom in the back. Yeah.
Yeah, Mike's is in the back.
I have not enjoyed Mike Constantini's bathroom.
Yeah,
All right.
neither is he.
What are you talking? I got magazines right at your disposal.
They're not at arm's reach, I'll say that much. And you don't have a toilet paper roll.
No,
the
and
toilet paper sits
every
on
night
the
before I
sink.
go to bed, I put plastic over them just in case. Like I happen to wake up in the middle of the night, sleepwalk, something like that. There's a toilet case. There's some plastic there, so guards the magazines. So you take it off the next day, everything's fine.
How bad is your aim? Like I've never had that issue. Did your mom have the little battleships on the back of the
Well, I
toilet?
don't turn on any
Did you guys ever
lights.
see that?
No.
Our friend's mom. You guys know about this. Danny, did you know about this?
What was this?
Jason and Adam's mom would put.
Was it? No, I mean, what was? What?
She put battleships on the back of the toilet to give them somewhere to aim.
Well, that's actually a
Joe.
common practice.
Yeah,
Joe.
I believe it's in Germany. They put little bugs in the urinals to make sure that people piss straight directly into the urinal.
Yep.
Joe, in the middle of the night when I wake up, I don't turn on any lights. I use what the pilots used to use as dead reckoning.
Oh man.
And I just go right. I just know it by instinct. Like
Yeah.
I can know if I'm over the Canaan Islands. You know,
Yep.
or if I'm over the Bermuda Triangle, where I am, I wouldn't
You
get
know what
lost.
pilots
And you have
don't
very good
do,
ears. You have
Very
very good
good
ears. So
ears.
you could tune just based
I'm
off
in
of
tune.
that audio feedback that you get.
But
Yeah.
pilots don't wrap their planes in plastic.
Yeah.
If you're so confident in this dead reckoning, why do you wrap anything in plastic?
It's just a
Yeah.
precaution, Sean. It's so much. I really trust myself.
Yeah, Germany never wrapped.
Trust my instincts.
Germany didn't wrap Munich in plastic when the Allies were bombing it. Like that never. That
they
never
didn't put a
happened.
neon sign on top.
And I just want to address something. Going back to something, Mike, you said something about this is radio. We have to describe. I just wanted to point
It's
out
the spirit
that
of radio, Danny.
the spirit of radio.
It's before your time.
There are more adjectives than lordly.
There are more.
Okay, okay. You know what? As long as you're pissing king-like. As long as
One more,
you're
one more.
As long as you're pissing fit for a queen. As long as your piss is the highest order of things.
As long as your dookie is Duke-like, is that what you're trying to say?
Yes.
All right.
Are we doing themes? Can we do pop stars of the 80s? Go.
As long as your piss can be named after an island,
What? All right.
like King Pissing Island.
We went too far. We went
Prince-
too far, guys.
I heard they named like an
We went-
island Prince Edward Island.
we went
Did you
too
hear about
far.
that? It
We went too
infuriated
far.
me. Infuriated me.
All right. There's many things
Name
named
an island
after.
after.
There's many things named
Prince.
after kings. Danny,
Infuriating.
hold on. We need
What
to-
did Prince Edward
we need
ever
to
do to
recover.
get?
Nothing.
What did Prince
nothing.
Edward ever do to get an
These
island
guys didn't
named
do
after?
anything. They
Dear
didn't do
God,
anything.
Joe, start the next topic.
Danny, you brought up some good points before. We were talking about. I had a point in here where you get mental images seared into your brain about certain people, and I have this girl in my past who will always be Orange Girl because we were in a bar. And she had a heavy tan, and the way the light hit her, she looked orange. Like, and in my head, whenever I think of her, like, she's orange. That's the thing. And you actually have a story where you have somebody with an association
Yeah.
also, a mental association.
You know, I just realized I have two. One is a PG version. They're both relatively the same story, but one is a PG version. I'll tell the there's the X-rated version though. This is the best.
All right, so
one.
mom and dad, fast forward, please.
This is just funny. This is like something about Mary sort of thing that actually happened to me. So I was at this party back in high school, and this. Long story short, this guy and this girl who were going out, they were a famous, couple. They'd been together forever. They go upstairs, they disappear for like an hour, and then, everybody assumes that they know what's going on. So they come back downstairs, and they both look pretty serene, pretty happy, and the girl taps me on the shoulder, and she points down to the table where I was sitting, and she goes, Dan, could you hand me my beer? And I just took it from the table, immediately handed it to her. I just wanted her to just to clear that. And so for the rest of my life, every time I see this girl, I can't hear her normal voice anymore.
Look, it's
Everything
her.
she's
Yeah, we're in church and it's Christmas. You're like, oh my God, Amen, it's her.
No, that's really funny. It reminds me of I knew a girl. I had just met this girl. We were working. I was waiting tables with her, and I think we had worked like 2 shifts together. And her name was Lacey Patterson, and so her last name was Patterson, and her car said Patterson 3 on it, the license plate. And she was like, oh, it's really funny, because I just asked her about it. That's a funny license plate. She goes, oh, my
Right.
dad owns a bunch of cars, and he has everything last name and number. And she goes, it's kind of a funny thing because back in high school, at my prom, I blew 3 guys, and everybody found out about it. And so for the rest of the year until we graduated, I was known as Patterson 3. And now when I drive my dad's car, it says Patterson 3 on it. And this is literally the second time I met this girl, and that's how she opens up to me and what she admits to me.
Wow. Wow. Well, it's a good thing her last name wasn't anal herpes or something like that. I think that would be much worse. The anal herpes 3.
Now,
That's
do you
horrible.
find that that's a trend that people just open up and share secrets with you that they just should not?
Waiting tables, I got it a lot. Not from other waiters, but from customers, I would get it. So I once had a guy, and with sad stories too, which also, it really annoys me and it bothers me. And I would have people admit things to me, and I just kind of, like, I just met you, I'm looking for small talk. Anyone, if I ask you how your day is going, you
Yeah.
say good.
Yeah.
Don't elaborate.
Here's the best move to elicit unwanted information. I used to have a position of authority in which I would hire people for my job, and there was we had a job fair at our company, and we would get we would hire writers, and we would get like the dregs of Los Angeles writers coming in because it was an interactive TV company, and everybody thought they were qualified. Everybody thinks they're a writer. I mean, Chris is a writer, Danny's a writer. I think everybody here at the table has written something. Everybody thinks they're a writer. So we had this one guy who came in, and he looked like he came off the streets, literally. And he hands me his resume, and he's like, you're gonna notice there's a little gap there in the resume. I had some drug dependence issues, a lot of marijuana, a lot of alcohol, a lot of cocaine,
not like I took a sabbatical for a number of years.
He was like
help the youth. Like you could have said anything, but
exactly,
really.
he was gonna be upfront. He was gonna own his drug use. So I remember I had all my notes that I showed my boss, and I just had all these notes, and I had circled 3 times cocaine use on my notes for a job interview.
You should have hired him. That's an honest man.
No, he was a horrible
person. It's an honest man.
But I think it's kind of, there's this idea, and I know a couple people who were coming out of an internship and going into the job force, and they were talking it's about standing out. It's about, your cover letter, what you do. You want to stand out in what you say. Yeah. And so one guy, he attached to his resume, instead of a cover letter, he decided, he was like, I really want them to see me for who I am. And he had come up with all these, some guy, I guess for Microsoft had sent a cardboard cutout of himself. And I want you to know the real me.
Wow.
And this guy went to go look at how much that would cost. And that was really expensive. So he was like, you know what? I'm going to do something different. So he got one of those mini tape recorders, where you put a answering machine tape in, and you record yourself to record lectures or things like that. And he did a recorded cover letter. So it was hey, my name's Jim, and, I want you to know who I am. And basically just read over his resume pretty much on it.
And he sent it as a tape?
And he sent it with the tape recorder in a manila envelope to the company. So I'm thinking, you're at this company, and you get this manila envelope with something that if you touch it the right way, starts making noise. And it's that's the first impression you want to make is when the bomb squad comes.
And he sent it on 9/12.
And he sent it on 9/12.
Real
exactly.
smart. Yeah.
So he didn't get that job?
I don't think so. No. I think the guy who emailed a cover letter got it.
Yeah. Go ahead,
we had in college, the dorm I lived in had you would apply it was kind of like a fraternity in that way, that people that wanted to live in that dorm would apply, and that the people that lived in the dorm would pick the people that came in to the dorm, and so it was kind of like this philosophy of fine arts dorm, and so they had this very thing. So it was kind of a frat in that way. You would pick the people that came in, and there was a guy who instantaneously got in instead of answering all the questions in the application and doing the essay question and such, because it was a 4-page paper, and we would think up all the questions, and it was all ridiculous. But he had just a series of photos that was him doing whippets at a party, and it was him, and it was the tink to tink to tink to tink pictures of him doing whippets, and then taking his shirt off, and then you just see just his dick. It's just it's 6 pictures, and it was, and they looked like he's in.
Did you guys let him in?
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
And I think that's kind of your dream with that. It's that's kind of the be all and end all fuck it, where you're you know what, in the movies, this guy gets the job,
Exactly.
But you have to really go balls out if you're going to do something like that.
We liked him. There was no question as to whether he was circumcised or not. We were all going to feel real comfortable in the shower with this guy. Oh, man, that's great. You have the best dorm stories.
Oh, Chris. I do. If you would allow me just a moment.
We allow you a moment. Go ahead.
Because there's so few opportunities to share this with an audience of more than just myself. My all-time favorite hiring story. I worked for a minor league baseball team for 2 years, and the guy that ran it used to work in the Army and ran it very much like that. Just was this kind of, he was in Air Force, but very much in that military kind of style. Ooh. He would be there 6 a.m. every day, run laps around the building, would be his working out. And everything was about tests. He would have physical tests just to see how mentally tough you were. And he would try to intimidate. He would intimidate everybody that worked there. He would stand over me and stare at me and not say anything. And even when I turned and made eye contact with him, he would not say anything. And then he would just stare and stare and stare. And then he'd just go, "How you doing?" And then he'd leave. That was it. And then he'd leave right there. But
wow.
One of his things that he would do was, whenever you had a meeting, if you had a meeting with anyone that he didn't know, he would make them wait. And his judge of character was how long you would wait until you just left. And that's when he would see you, is when you left. So we just told the secretary, when they leave, tell them, he's just getting off the phone or whatever, and invite them into my office. So this guy came in for the interview. I would know him later. I don't know if I'll necessarily use his name, but I knew him later. It was the only time that I've ever seen him in a tie. And I can use Lolly because that's his nickname and no one will know.
Sure.
So Lolly was there. He came in. He's waiting in the office. And Lolly comes in the office and comes in, sits down, And he's waited a considerable amount of time. He's finally just said, like, no, I'm leaving. And the secretary's like, well, and she didn't like doing that. She's like, please, come on in. He goes in, he sits down. Bill, who's sitting behind the desk, doesn't say anything at all, sits behind his desk. Lally comes in, puts his resume down. Bill takes the resume, turns it back around, says, this doesn't mean shit, and pushes it across the table. Bill always left his door open, and so that's why all of us could hear this, because we're all right outside the door. So Lally looks, he's been waiting out there for a half hour. He's pissed. This guy just tells him his resume doesn't mean shit without even looking at it. Like, he literally just turned it around and did that. And Lally goes, you know what you can do? You can roll this up and stick it up your ass. That's his first line in this job interview.
That's amazing. For some reason, I keep thinking of the sergeant from Full Metal Jacket. I don't know why. Like, running this.
Yeah, so Bill goes, what did you say to me? Did you just swear to me? I was like, I did swear. And if you need any help, I'll help you put it up your ass. So Bill stands up,
brilliant.
Beat red, because he could go from 0 to pissed like that. He beat red, stands up, gets right up in Lally's face. Lally stands up, and the two of them are nose to nose. This is a minute into this job. Nose to nose. And he goes, you can't talk to me like that. This is my office. You're going to come into my office and talk to me? It's like, I'll say whatever the fuck I want to you. You just made me wait in that fucking hallway. I will say whatever I want. You take that back. You cannot swear it here. I just did swear it here. And the two of them like that. Everybody outside, there's like 5 or 6 of us that work in kind of this outer office. Frozen. Like, are we going to have to break up a fist fight? You know? And so Lally just sits there steaming, and Bill's like, get the fuck out of my office, get out of here. He's like, I don't want this job, like, eat shit, like, I hate you, da, da, da. The two of them screaming at each other. Lally turns around, walks out, slams the door so hard, the wall of the building shakes, like, just the whole wall, just da, 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 da. All of us frozen because we're just waiting of, like, what Bill will do. He's staring at the door as we watch Lally, like, walk out into the parking lot to his car. And then Bill turns around and everyone goes, check out that guy, huh? A lot of fire in that guy. Hired him.
You got to be played. That's how I want that's how I want my next job interview to be.
His first line was, you can take this and shove it up your ass. Hired for the job.
Wow.
They're going to be in each other's weddings, you know? Like, yeah, that's great.
That's amazing.
Very good. There's no better way to end the regular segment than with that story. So we're going to go right now to the aftermath. There we go. Very good. Very good. Let's bring it home as we usually do. We'll start we'll start over with the guy in the fetal position next to the toilet over there, Mike. Mike, we had a couple things we didn't really get to in the show. You can share one of those or something that came up during the show, whatever you want to talk about.
Well, I think that...
Hold on a second. I just want to say,
sure.
Quote Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, my God, I thought, here it comes.
Here it comes. that could be like, that could hang over the table every time Mike.
Every time I listen, that's what goes through my head right before Mike's aftermath.
Danny, that's one of the greatest honors in played upon. And now I'm nervous. Now I'm actually nervous.
God, sorry, Mike, as many have said to you before, just be yourself.
Well, that's the case. Well, this whole thing made me think that, you know, the concept of the outhouse when in the Old West, great idea. I don't think it was because of lack of plumbing. I just think it was, you know, men and women, they just needed a place outside of the house to do their business. And I think they added the half moon because it was a decorative thing for women. And, you know, it's kind of like the woman's idea, like, oh, honey, I'd love like a moon shape. So they put it in there. But I thought, like, what I'd like to do is make a lot of money. Not for happiness. Not for, you know, my own self-preservation.
Clearly not for comedy.
Not for comedy. But I would like to make a lot of money just so that, like, you know, I could build like a huge house, and then, well, not larger, but just have a couple bathrooms. And, you know, one would be for, you know, I'm not going to say I'm ever going to get married. That's a pretty far stretch at this point.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
But you know, like a bathroom for my wife where she could have her own thing, and then a bathroom for me where I could just be me. And my bathroom would be 15th century pirate. And I would have like the old wood, you know, like the with barnacles, and it would just be a shitty looking bathroom. I mean, it would look like a pirate shit. Sure. And the part of the mystique would be having sound effects. You know, sound effects of like of creaking sound effects of creaking wood, and also sound effects of moaning drunk pirates just in the background.
That is so. That is so gay.
And then, so you could. Hey man, I'm fine with my manliness. You know, I could have moaning pirates if I want.
I don't doubt
What?
that.
Hey, Mike, what does the moaning pirate sound like? Yeah, clearly that pirate's going to the bathroom. There's no doubt about what's happening.
Then lowly pitch, you'd be like, shiver me timber. You know, it'd be like a real drunken swell. But it'd be great, you know, just having like a room like that, you know, like where basically the water just comes out of a little pipe. There's no like stream, it just comes out of a pipe, you know, and I would just love that. It's like there's a mystique about it. And you never have to worry. Like you could take a horrific shit if you want. It could always smell bad. What is a pirate bathroom going to smell like?
I hate to break this to you, but I don't think that when someone walks by a smelly bathroom, they complain because it doesn't fit the theme of the room. They're not like, oh, you know what? This is awkward because this looks like it should smell good, but it smells like shit.
You know what, Sean? You know what I'd have there? I'd have a vat of lemons.
All right.
I'd have a vat of lemons to fight off the.
All right.
You know, I think
ahead.
I figured out the thing with Mike is, you know, I don't know if you guys have seen like toy, like they have these toys that you can talk into, like they're like blowhorns, and you can change the voice to make it sound like a robot or whatever. I think that Mike has those filters built into his ears, so when we say things, he hears completely different comments. There's a weird filter that goes through.
I agree completely, and I usually don't do an aftermath, but I'm going to do one this week because I have to share this.
Wow.
So last week we had Lauren Ashley Bishop on, and afterwards, Mike and Lauren like hung out and had like a really nice conversation. They had a lot of fun, and we were telling this to some of our friends, and I was like, yeah, Mike, that's really great that you guys got along so well, because if you listen to the show, she just like owned Mike last week, because Mike was really funny talking about his dating neurosis, and Lauren was like jump on everything with like a Sean-like intensity. And so Mike was like completely serious. He goes, Joe, what you have to realize is that when I'm on the show, I'm playing a character. It's not how I actually am. You know, I'm turning it on for you guys, which is really funny because I just want to tell everybody at home, like, this is exactly how he acts all of the time.
And you live with him.
And I live with him.
You see him probably more than most.
Exactly. We are roommates.
Life is a stage. We're just merely players.
Proven. Like, you've proven the points.
Just don't have a little makeup to make us look pretty.
It's very true. Okay, very good. Chris, did you have anything you wanted to contribute?
Just a small note. It's something that wasn't talked about, but was kind of tangentially gleaned from this. That just the bathroom is kind of like to me the root of America. Like, it is the place.
I agree, Chris.
If you went to the president's bathroom, if you went to the lowliest man living in the middle of Los Angeles, if you went to the astronauts to the space station, my guess is those bathrooms, with the exception of maybe the shuttle, look exactly the same. You can't dress it up too much. You can't dress it down too much.
Yeah.
Like, a bathroom is a bathroom is a bathroom.
Yeah.
That's really funny. It reminds me when my girlfriend got into NYU and she was kind of moving to New York, and she'd never really been to the big city. I mean, she'd been in LA, but she has moving out on her own and kind of having to compete with people that she thought might be better than her, might be this. We went out one night, and it was kind of like that night that I could say something to her that really meant something, that could keep our relationship together, and I totally pulled a Mike Costantine moment because I had thought of things. It was before I did the podcast, and I didn't have a place to share my stupid comments. And so we're sitting on the beach, and she's kind of like, I'm really nervous. I've always been top of my class and doing what I do, and now I'm going to a school with people who are going to be just like me and maybe even better. And I said, you know what I think is that, take someone that you think's like just great and think of them taking a shit on the toilet. Because when you think about it, like, at a certain point, we're all like looking like that, taking a shit. And I'd been dating her for maybe 5-6 months, and she looked back at me the way that so many women have looked at my cousin Tini. And I really honestly got the taste of what it was like, where I just was like, no, in my head, this is fucking great.
Yeah, right. Like in her head, she was gonna like stand up and just start applauding, like applauding you, like bravo, sir.
It was like in my head, the character John C. Reilly saying this in a movie to his young son.
Right,
it's just dead on.
And later on, she in her head, she's going, and that gave me the confidence I needed to succeed at NYU.
Sean, you can only use those extreme words of wisdom in very specific circumstances. Okay, you need to know how to control that.
You usually choose to do it when you're hammered on the phone.
So true.
Hey, life is a video game. It's all about leveling up.
Famous words from Mike's drunken New Year's Eve speech to Sean.
It's true.
Yeah, I mean,
it's true, and you agree with me.
I think it's one of the best speeches Mike ever gave. It was really good. Very good, Dan. Sean, was that your contribution?
Yes.
Call that. Okay, Dan, bring us home.
All right. First, I want to start with Sean's thing about like understanding Mike. I just pictured like this moment in Sean's head where like it's like that moment in The Shining where he's dancing with the dead woman. Like he realizes that he's dancing with the dead woman. Like when Sean enters Mike's world, like it just becomes like a nightmare.
And it's a far shot all of a sudden. Speaking of cinematics, as I read over Joe's column, it seemed like Joe really put like a lot of thought and passion into this kind of. I never really thought about it before, but I mean which is I guess a testament to his. I put an irrational amount of effort into menial, trivial subjects.
So exactly what I pictured in my head was like the Joe Donatelli soap opera. And it's like Joe and his longtime wife are together. They're coming home from a place, and like she goes into the bathroom, and those shots where you like you can see what's going on in the distance, and then it'll switch the focus to what's close. So you just see like his wife going to the bathroom, leave the door open, and then you see the focus shift to Joe, and Joe's got the tear running down the eye because he knows it's over.
I knew it was over. The next morning, I'm calling my divorce attorney.
The violin swell.
Yeah, it's the big moment. It's the huge
and then
moment.
it pans back into focus, and she realizes what she's done, and she's crestfallen. She's crying on the bathroom, and we're both crying. That's the shot.
Yep.
Oh man. Awesome, Dan. That's good. We're gonna write that shit. Yes, we're gonna write that shit. Very good. All right, Mr. Mosier and Mr. Donatelli, thank you both for coming on. You guys have both been a pleasure. You guys have been great.
You guys are our favorite guests.
Yeah, among two. Now what about?
Like I've listened to every show, man. Yeah, I know you say that every time.
No, I say it like with Lauren. She was great. You guys, we love Ed Galvez. Doug, we love you.
Now you have to mention every guest we've ever had on, or they're all gonna feel bad.
What do you think of Kevin Ford? Keep having back. Kevin Ford, yes.
Phil Ranta,
Jeff Slonaker.
Doug Driesel.
I just said Doug.
All right.
Yeah.
Very good.
You didn't
Robo-host.
All right. Robo-host. What about Carlos?
No, I mean, there are guests, and then there are guests.
Yeah.
We like having them all, but we have favorites.
Great. I really look forward to those emails
And
now.
Guess who's not coming back?
And we only like part of the audience.
Yeah. We have certain people we really.
They didn't mention me.
Yeah, Tom. Shit. Well, Tom's sitting right here.
Tom, you can be here anytime you want.
Tom has been a guest and a writer.
Yeah.
We love. It's like that Chili Pepper song. We love all of you.
No, but that's
The
not
one where
what
the
you
album
just
didn't really
said.
make
You
sense.
just contradicted yourself.
Yeah.
You just put them into two different classes.
Yeah. I've talked about mental images in this column. I just my mental image of Mike is just a guy in quicksand doing things to make himself sick, like quicker, kind of like sticking his arms.
I'm
in
just
and
gonna
wiggling
start
around.
swallowing it.
If I eat it, I won't sink in it. Yeah.
Throw me that anvil.
Joe used to think I was the golden child. Now I'm just an enigma.
I remember about a year ago, Mike and I were working on a project, and we were emailing back and forth, and it was just like, we're trying to get this project done. I forget what it was, but Mike, at the very end of this email string, sent me an email that said, it basically said, "You're all business. The romance is gone." I laughed so hard. And I was like, yeah, it's true. We were trying to get something done. Yeah, it's going to be like, do this. We got to do that. So I always thought that was really funny. The romance is gone. Very good. Now, Chris, still a heavily involved player in the LA comedy scene. Does a lot of
Absolutely.
stuff. Chris, anything you want to talk about or promote? Anything that people might want to go see or find online or anything like that?
Yeah, you can find a couple of things. If you go over to ucbcomedy.com, coming up towards the end of June, something I did called Distractions Incorporated. And then there's also something called Hitman that Kevin Ford wrote that's up there now.
Which is very funny.
Yep, you may see a glimpse into the world of where Mike Constantini and Joe Donatelli live.
Yep.
And so that and enjoygreatadventure.com.
Yep. And the Great Adventures Improv Group. Very good. And Danny, you're not working on anything that's
Yeah, I don't have
for
any
public
plugs.
consumption right now.
JoeDonatelli.com.
Oh, which I should mention right now is being relaunched this week with new design.
I saw the site too. It's very, very cool.
Yeah,
looking.
I hired a professional to redo it. So it's still a blog site, but it's done by a professional. So like the ads look good, everything looks good. There's different colors.
Better links to the second column.
Yeah, the second column has its own page now. It's really cool. So that'll launch sometime in the next. It may have launched already by the time we publish this. I don't know yet. I'm working with a designer right now. So very good, guys. Very good podcast. Thank you for joining us. We had a lot of fun, and we'll be back next week.
That's all for this episode of The Second Column. For more information, go to joedonatelli.com.